Man, I was just thinking about y'all, bro. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. So as you guys know, we got the Champions Chess Tour going on right now. And this is the Crunchlabs Masters quarterfinal game 4 between Wesley and Jan-Krzysztof Duda. And this is the winner's bracket. So this is a winner-take-all tie-break game. So all of my people coming from the Philippines, I would say meron salamat. Anybody who is coming from Poland, I will say Dziękuję. If you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, son. So we got the move D4, knight goes to F6, so we start off with an Indian game. We got C4, and then we do G6, and this is the King's Indian defense. I love seeing this, man, personally, bro, because I play so well against it. I'm not like a genius or anything, or like Wesley but, I mean, I'm pretty good with it, man. We got the move G3. We do have C6. C6 might look kind of random, because you're like, man, like, I'm just trying to fiend kettle, right, and get castled, right? But, you know, once white puts this bishop on this diagonal, kind of like what black is going to do, I mean, it can be very influential on this diagonal. So basically, black is trying to play against that bishop. So we got bishop going to G2. We got the move D5. Like I said, trying to set up a nice little pawn, like a little roadblock. Pawn takes, and then we do see knight to F3. Bishop goes to G7. We got knight to C3 castles by black. We got knight up to E5, opening up this bishop. So kind of like a Catalan kind of an idea. We do see E6. So at first, black was trying to kind of combat it this way. Now we kind of see that type of a situation. So you see that black is constantly trying to play against this bishop because it is a very strong piece for white. We got castles by white, knight F to D7. Hitting this knight that we have, how do you want to defend it? So we do see the move F4. You don't necessarily want to go knight takes here because you would see a pawn taking here and you have just taken the F6 square away from a knight. And that is really not what you want. You want the knight to be able to kind of defend your king side. We got knight going to C6. We got bishop going to E3. Knight D takes E5. We do see pawn taking D5. So kind of what I was talking about a minute ago before, but I mean, it's not so bad because you have traded some pieces down. We do see the move B6 in this position, and some of you guys might be wondering, okay, man, let's do the math here, bro. Can I just push this pawn and it's a fork? Because, I mean, we're not super defended and everything. Absolutely not. Because you would be seeing, after the move D4, you would be seeing bishop taking C6, and this would be removing one of the defenders of this D4 pawn. So you kind of have some intermizzos, Zwischenzug moves as they're known. Pawn taking C3, bishop back to G2, pawn taking B2, and then rook to B1, and everything is all good. It is all dead even. You're going to be corralling this pawn at some point coming up in the near future. Both sides have 2 bishops. I mean, you know, there's really nothing to write home about. So, going back, like I said, we did see the move B6. We got the rook to C1, and this is the novelty of the game. It makes super absolute sense, though. This is a completely open file, so, I mean, this is definitely where you want a rook to be, so I'm really kind of puzzled how this is the novelty of the game. We got bishop to B7, we got knight up to B5, we got queen to D7, and then we have the greatest knight that you'll ever see in your entire life, up knight to D6. I will say this, though. It looks great, but it's not like, you know, really anything to write home about. You can trade. It's definitely better to trade this knight for this bishop because you see Jan-Krzysztof, he does play this completely accurately. We got rook A to D8, queen to D2, and then we do see bishop going to A8. And now, I mean, this knight really doesn't have any targets in the position. There isn't any sacrifices here. And, I mean, showing Krzysztof Duda's play in this position, the knight is actually a little bit unstable right there. We got rook F going to D1, and then F6 is the undermining move. Basically, Jan-Krzysztof is like, bro, get your knight out of my kitchen, dog. I mean, we're cooking something. We don't need your help. So we do see pawn taking F6. Now, this is a nice in-between move because this does hit this bishop right here. So you are not hanging your knight. After the bishop takes, we do see this cute little knight to E4. And you don't want to take here because you're going to be dropping both of your pieces right here. And that is just not what we want in the game. The bishop does drop back to G7. We got knight up to G5. We got queen going over to E7. Bishop drops back to F2. King slides over to H8. And we do see queen to E3. And this is cute. I mean, you know, when you see your opponent having backward pawns, which this one is, this is absolutely what you want to be trying to do. And you really don't want to kind of push this pawn because this pawn is hit double time. So, you know, white has really done a good job of kind of tying black down to their weaknesses. We got rook sliding over rook f to e8. We do see rook up to d2. We got knight over to a5. And I mean, black is trying to say, hey, bro, like, can I just plop down into c4? Well, not if you're Duda. You are not dropping down into c4. But I will say this, though. The computer really love for you just to allow the knight going to c4 because you have a really long string of moves. If you calculated this far, if you just went ahead and went like queen to d3, allowed knight to c4, you would be absolutely dropping this piece with rook takes c4. And I know you guys can't see it now, probably. Maybe you guys can. Maybe you guys are just gangsters. You know, it doesn't really look successful. Like, why am I trading all these pieces? But there is a final piece to the puzzle that just makes everything come together. You would be seeing pawn taking, and then you would fearlessly go queen takes, rook takes, queen takes, and then you would have this beautiful knight to f7 with check, and this is what makes it all just so nice. Beautiful. Yes, but you would have to be calculating like 5 moves deep in this one, and this is really hard to do in a blitz game. So we just see the simple b3, just making sure that that knight c4 threat just doesn't even appear on the board. We do see d4. We got queen sliding over to d3. Ultimately, bishop takes, king takes, and then we do see the move e5. And like I said before, with f6 destabilizing that knight, we do have pawn possibly taking here, trying to destabilize this knight as well, rip open the king's position. So we really don't want to allow that to happen. So we do see queen going to e4. Knight goes back up to b7. You absolutely cannot keep this knight on the edge of the board for life. So you do need to get it back into the game at some point. Knight goes to b7. We got queen down to f3. We got the move h6. And we have actually reached a position where there are 2 very nice moves that you can play. If you want to go ahead and pause the video, you can guess either one of these moves and they would be correct. I will accept them. But go ahead and pause the video and see if you can guess one of those 2 moves. Okay, so we're going to get into these 2 moves that I have for you, but then we'll get into a 3rd move because the 3rd move was what was played in the game. It wasn't either one of the moves that you would guess. Now, if you noticed, number 1, that your knight is attacked, that would be incorrect. I mean, it is attacked, but that's not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on either the 2 moves, rook d going to c2, seeing if you can plop down onto this square here and attack this knight. Or another move would be simply just to go knight to e6, which forks these 2 pieces, and then you would be it would be an even trade with the knights. Those are the 2 things that you really want to kind of do in the situation, but we absolutely actually do not see that. We do see the move rook to c6, which it has some merit on its own. It's definitely the 3rd best move, so it has a little bit of oomph into it, but you have to kind of play passive at a certain point. And that's really not what you're wanting to do if you give up a piece. Normally, you have to play very actively. So after we see rook going to c6, we do see pawn taking g5. We got rook taking g6. Pawn takes f4, and then we do have the very nice defensive rook to d6. Basically, black is like, you know what? You know, you sacrifice these pieces, and you got your rook looking scary, the queen coming in. But, I mean, I just have a nice defensive move of my own. I mean, you know, we could trade pieces down all day long. You absolutely do not want to be trading pieces if you are on the white side. We do see queen going to h5 with check, king going to g8, and it is actually beneficial for you to either retreat your queen back or go a rook down to g5. Neither one of those would probably enter any person's mind that's on the white side because they just sacrificed a piece. So you got to like go and kill them, right? You can't just retreat. So, obviously, Wesley did not find either one of those moves. He went ahead and went f5, which, I mean, it has a little bit to it. I mean, the rook is going to be taken like we see in the game, and then pawn would be taken, and you can kind of see that, this king is kind of in a box. This right here illustrates to you, though, how important this bishop is to protect all of these dark squares when you do go a Fee and Kettle situation in front of your king. So I talk about it all the time, like how you literally can't, you know, lose this bishop. And you see that this bishop is really the only thing that's kind of holding the king together because all of its pawns have deserted him. So that is that. We do see knight going down to c5. We got bishop going to h4. Queen goes over to b7 with check. We got king down to g1. We got the queen coming into e4. Queen goes to h7 with check. I mean, you kind of have to do it, man, if you're going to go all in like this. The king slides over to f8. Now, you should be noticing that black does kind of not have any squares to go to, though. The queen is taking care of this square. The pawn's taking care of this one. The bishop is having the king cut off. So you really don't have a whole lot of real estate. And really, all you need is for the queen to hop into f7, and you might be kind of good. So the rook does come down to d1, trying to take advantage of that fact. And we do see queen to g4 with check. And these checks actually are kind of a little bit annoying because, I mean, you know, you kind of can give them all day. The king slides over to h1. We got queen to check. We got queen check. King goes to g1, queen back. So, you know, we are down to like 6 seconds for Jan-Krzysztof here. So he's like, hey, man, I'm going to try to build up a little bit of time. So that's what we see. And then we do see queen taking e2. And this is covering the f1 square. And you really, really want to try to get that move in because if you can, like I said, the king is really just cut off. Rook goes to e1, queen goes to f3 with check. We got king to g1. We do see another check right here. Like I said, Jan-Krzysztof is really trying to make sure he can get a little bit of time because he is very low. And then we do see the very crucial knight to d3. It's not so much that this is attacking the rook on e1. It is so that you can make this maneuver when you do get this check after rook to f1 with check. We do see the knight coming back to f1 just in time to block this king because you had no other hope other than putting the queen in the way. We got bishop going to g3, but this is a very champion pawn right here, kind of holding everything together, and you do not have another way to add pressure to this knight if you are white. It does, after d3, we do see rook to f2. Now, it is very much suggesting queen to h4 here. But, I mean, obviously, as white, like I said, you do not want to go into trading pieces because you don't have a whole lot of pieces to begin with. So we do see rook to f2, but unfortunately, this is a mate in 2. And Jan-Krzysztof finds it because you're always supposed to look for checks first, right? Yes. Queen goes to d1 with check. You have to throw the rook in the way. And then we do see queen going to f1, taking on f1. And this is checkmate. For any of you guys might be wondering why is it checkmate? Well, not only does the queen hold both of these squares that you can go to, so does the knight. So you are completely checkmated if you are Wesley. So, and this is the game that Jan-Krzysztof was able to get into the winner's bracket for the I think it's the semi, because it's the quarterfinal now, so semifinals tomorrow. And Wesley goes into the loser's bracket. And hopefully Wesley So can muster up some good games and get back into the winner's bracket. It is not all lost. So I appreciate everybody very much coming from the Philippines. Magandang umaga to you. Kumusta na aking mga kaibigan? Masaya Kong Kitty Kang Muli. It's nice to see you guys very much again. Anybody who is coming up from Poland, I will say Chaste. And then Jen Koya. I appreciate you guys very much, and I'm going to see you guys next time.